Okay, here we are. Best Relationships Part 2. This is our second half, or maybe third portion of the course for week 2 of the Complexity and Justice course for the summer of 2022. So, oops, gotta get into the right screen here, right? Okay, so in this second part, what I want to talk to you about is how a relationship is a system. We're going to talk a lot more about systems and systems thinking, systems dynamics when we talk about complexity theory. But I want to introduce to you the notion that a relationship is a kind of system. And one of the models that we're going to use for looking at systems is this whirlpool, this picture here. This is a picture I took up at the St. Louis Art Museum a few years back. And I wish I'd taken a video instead of a still. But it's a picture of an art installation, which the installation, the room was full of things that were naturally occurring phenomena, like one was literally a pile of rocks. But if you look carefully here, I'm going to give you a better look at this, you will see that in the midst of that cylinder there is a whirlpool. And the whirlpool is created because there is this cylinder here. There's a container that holds it. There is a pump down here that pushes what I think is probably water up to the top, and the angle of the way it's sucked out and the way it's blown in causes it to form this whirlpool. All right. So I want to suggest to you that a relationship is a system that also has a container. The container says this is who we are. These are the rules of engagement. Here's how we function. It says there's something that moves us, where there's some desire for connection. There's something going on. Here's how we support ourselves, is by working together with each other. And so there's this drive. And there's also how it is that we relate to each other. How is it that we are attached to each other? And this kind of having a structure, the container, having a desire, a force that moves us, and having a clear understanding of what we do and don't do within the relationship. These are things that are going to be true in any kind of complex adaptive system, particularly living systems, like a plant or like an anthill, like the murmuration of starlings that we looked at last week. Each of those starlings is within the system. They're flying along with it. Their desire is to be a part of the flock. And there's some evidence that, in fact, when they fly that way, they're safer. So it's part of it is the drive is safety. And a part of it is that they know how far apart to be from each other. How close do we need to get? How fast are we going to go? What are the rules by which we do this? So when we have a relationship with somebody else, part of what we're looking for is to be connected to them. I want to listen to them. You know, if I met somebody, I'm curious about them. I want to be close to them. We desire connection to each other. We want to be, in some sense, attached. We want to be friends. We're looking for what is it we all like together. We want to be, in some sense, bonded. But we also need to maintain our own integrity. We need to be able to have my own autonomy, to be my own self. And so sometimes what we will do in a relationship is we'll get, particularly in romantic relationships, we'll get real bonded. Oh, I can't wait to be with you. It's so, we need some space. And so in some relationships, we will kind of bounce back and forth between being glommed onto each other and taking time apart. Right? Ideally, what we want to be able to do is to be both bonded and bounded all at the same time, to be able to maintain a connection and autonomy within the same relationship. It requires that we continually kind of tune how we do that. But we want to be as bonded and as bounded as we can possibly be. Right? Now, when we relate to somebody else, we kind of have semi-permeable boundaries with them. This is like, where's the line between me and you, right? Between, am I doing this right? Yeah, between. All right, so I'm self, you're other, right? And there are certain things that I want you to have. I want you to know about me. I want you to be informed about what's going on with me. There are things I want to let out of me. I want to exhale. And there's things bodily, emotionally, relationally, there are things I want to let out. But I cannot survive all by myself. So there's some things that I want to bring in. I want to bring in food. I want to bring in what's going on with you. I want to bring in culture. So there's things that I'm going to let out, and there's things that I'm going to pull in. Well, I'm not going to let out everything. There's some things that, no, I don't want you to know that. That's private. Or I need to hold on to this. I don't want to get too dehydrated or whatever. You know, there's things that I need to have for me. And there may be things that are outside of you, out of me that, no, that's toxic. I don't want to let that in. So we're going to be constructing in our relationships with others these semi-permeable boundaries, and they will change. They necessarily will change. 2:00 in the morning, I get a phone call. Don't recognize the number, but who in the hell is calling me at this time? Turns out it's some college friend of mine who's in town. He say, yeah, I got your number, and I'm just passing through town, but my car broke down, and I don't know anybody else in town. Can you help me out? You know, when we were tight in college, and so, sure, of course I will. I mean, you know, I'm not going to leave him stranded. So I get up, I get dressed, I go find him, you know, help him get to where he needs to be, and you know, hey, nice to see you. Hope it works out for you. Bye. Right. A week later, middle of the night, I get a call from him. Oh man, you wouldn't believe it. My car broke down again. Okay, yeah. So what's up? So okay, this is who I am. I help people out. So I go help him out and, you know, help him get to where he needs to be, and hope you get your car fixed, right? You know, a week later, 2:00 in the morning, got a phone call. Yeah? Hey, you won't believe what happened. What? I broke down. It's like, fix your damn car. And I go back to sleep. You know, I'm going to adjust my boundaries. And so it's necessary for us to be in the process of boundary setting. Typically, when we talk about setting a boundary, what people mean by that is, I'm going to tell you what you can and cannot do, which is, of course, controlling others. And as we've seen, that doesn't actually work, right? But we have to be able to adjust our boundaries in such a way that we're constructing health for ourselves. And as circumstances change, we have to change how it is that we're showing up. Our relationships are a dynamic system. And so what we're doing within that system, we have to adjust it based upon whether what's happening is helpful or harmful to me. So at all times, we're going to be making a judgment about, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? This can be tricky because we tend to make a kind of duality between hurt and harm, between helpful and harmful. If it hurts, it's not helpful. Yeah, but sometimes the things that help actually are going to be hurtful. So I may say, I don't want to go to the dentist. That's going to hurt. He's going to stick the little thing down my teeth, and my gums are going to bleed. No, I don't want to. So I'm just not going to go to the dentist. Turns out that avoiding dental care is actually very harmful for more than just your teeth and your ability to chew your food. So sometimes doing something that is hurtful is actually healthy, and sometimes it's just doing harm. So the trick is there's going to be this discernment. We have to figure out, how do I balance hurt and health? Because sometimes healthy relationships require a certain amount of hurt. If my buddy is to carry on the dental example here, if my buddy's a salesman, makes his living meeting people, talking to them, but he's got bad dental hygiene and his breath smells bad, he doesn't know that. Am I going to say, hey buddy, you should take care of your teeth, your breath smells bad? Oh, that's going to hurt his feelings. He's not going to like hearing that, so I'm not going to tell him, right? But not telling him, not doing what hurts him, harms him. So we need to be able to figure out what, just because it hurts doesn't mean it's harmful. Maybe hurtful things are actually going to be healthy. Which means that when we get sideways, when I'm feeling abused, when something isn't working my way, when this isn't right for me, I need to do something about it, because I've got to speak up. I've got to say something. The first best thing that we can do to resolve conflict is to not do the things that don't work. And we've had this list, I hope you've seen the video about the fourth strategies for resolving conflict that don't universally work, right? So ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. We're going to have to talk about this. If we talk about it, I don't want to fight about it. I don't want us to be putting each other down, being contemptuous of each other. We need to be respectful of each other. I don't want to be in a fight. Now, let me just mention here that if you are in relationships in which you can't talk to somebody about something because it's going to result in a fight, that is, you're going to feel like they're trying to make you lose, or you end up trying to make them lose, then check out the series of videos about taking a timeout. It's a really good discipline for being able to respond to a relationship in which there's this habit of getting into fights, because fights just mean everybody loses. All right? So don't ignore it. Don't fight about it. Don't try to control the other. As soon as we're trying to control each other, we're making each other lose, because it's a kind of fight. But it also, if I'm trying to control you, you're going to resist me by doing what you can do, which is to not do what I want you to do. My attempts to control you will just engender resistance. All right? And take care of yourself. You are the center of your own experience, and your first job is to create what you need, because if you don't have what you need, you're not going to be your best self. All right? So don't caretake. Don't control others. Don't fight. Don't stonewall. All right, so what are we going to do? We're going to have a conversation here where we're assertive with each other. That is, we have to be able to name the issue in such a way that the other person can see what we're talking about and say, okay, yeah, I can do something about this. So when we talk about speaking assertively, what we're doing is we're responding to a concern. Remember, there's something I need. There's a quality that's missing for me. And I'm aware because of this ouch that arises for me when this pattern of behavior happens. So this thing isn't working for me. So I have to say something about it. I have to say ouch in some way. But for me to be able to have a conversation with you about it, I have to be able to tell you what's going on. I have to describe the event. My complaint is that there's this thing that happens. There's this thing you do. There's this reality that arises. So you can know that when that happens, here's the impact that it has on me. Now, actually doing that is really very powerful, but we don't think it's going to be, because how's that going to change them, right? So sometimes we don't even bring it up. I don't want to say anything, right? And so we wait and we wait and we wait until by the time we're going to talk about it, it's such a big deal that the way it comes out, it's really kind of laced with contempt. That is, it shows disdain or disregard for the other. It's everything from the eye roll to cussing them out. So that's definitely going to be a problem. But if we're really torqued about it, it's going to be my way or the highway. And I'm going to say, here's the way it's going to be. I'll make a demand. I'll be in control. So this becomes a kind of process going from concern to complaint to contempt to control. And we want to start on it, but we don't want to go all the way down. We want to see that red line. We want to stay above the red line. And to be clear about what it is what's the quality that's missing for me, and what is it that's happening that raises this as a problem, and not drop down into being contemptuous or controlling. It's hardest to keep ourselves from dropping under the red line when we're really angry. Which is not to say that anger is a problem. It's not to say that we don't have a right to be angry. The thing is, our anger can hijack us. And so if you can't express the concern and the complaint without getting contemptuous and controlling, then your anger is taking over for you. So there's this discipline called the anger workout, which I strongly encourage everybody to do. I don't know anybody who's really very healthy with their anger. Certainly, I haven't been. So we either have too much of it or too little. And to be able to balance our anger, because anger is a great source of energy for transformation, but it also can make huge problems. So the problem is not the anger, the problem is what we do when we're angry. Okay, so we want to be able to speak assertively in such a way that we can create relationships in which we are accountable. Now, accountability, being accountable, everybody thinks that's a good idea, but we don't necessarily define it in the same way because there are different types of accountability based upon different kinds of relationships. So remember, we talked about the fiduciary and reciprocal and mutual relationships. In a fiduciary relationship, that is where somebody is entrusted with the well-being of another, they have rights because they have responsibilities. Being accountable is using the rights that you have for the welfare of those that are entrusted to you. When in a kind of public sphere, we want to hold people accountable, this is almost always what we're talking about. Some elected official is not doing what they are supposed to be doing. They have the right to make decisions on our behalf, and they're making decisions on their own behalf. And this is basically what corruption is, although corruption is an interesting thing within American laws. It's not corruption unless you're getting money for your use of your power. If all you're doing with your power is you're guaranteeing that you're going to get reelected, which is not the reason that you have the power. You have the power because you're supposed to honor the Constitution, or whatever the role is. You have rights because you have responsibilities. If you use those rights, if you use those powers for reasons other than the well-being of those to whom you are responsible, that's a kind of corruption. And it's so ubiquitous that we don't hardly even notice it when it happens, right? So accountability is one thing in a fiduciary relationship. It's different in a reciprocal relationship because we have a kind of contract, whether it's written down or not. I hired you to put in a sidewalk that was 4 feet wide and had 3 inches of concrete and 3 inches of gravel, and it's only got 2 inches of gravel and 2 inches of concrete, and it's only 3.5 feet wide. You're not keeping to the contract, right? I'm going to hold you accountable for that. Or I promised to pay you so much and I'm only going to pay you this, so I'm not keeping to my terms of the contract. So accountability is really pretty straightforward in a reciprocal relationship because usually we're fairly clear about the contract. If we're not being careful with our lives. In a mutual relationship, accountability is different. We are not accountable to someone. We're not accountable for someone. In a fiduciary relationship, we're accountable to the people that we are, who have entrusted us with these rights. In a reciprocal relationship, we're accountable for delivering what we said we were going to do, right? In a mutual relationship, we are accountable with. We are taking into account how it is that our behavior is affecting each other. We're noticing the impact that we're having on others. So it's a different kind of accountability. It's certainly equally important, or probably even more important, because the bedrock of our well-being are the mutual relationships that we construct with each other. So we want to be mutually accountable. We want to be in mutual relationships that are equitable, where we're paying attention to how it is that we impact each other, because we're all a part of the same matrix of well-being. That's what we're looking for. We want to create a system in which the container and the drive and the relationships that we have with each other create this whirlpool, create this dynamic way of being with each other, such that everybody is enlivened and benefits. All right. So that's this second theme here. So let me suggest that I'm going to have some assignments for you. I'll probably get them out to you tomorrow. but they'll be for the following week. You can get them for tomorrow night. This is Wednesday when I'm recording this. So watch this as many times as you want and bring your questions, and I'll see you Thursday evening. Take care.